Alright, what's up guys? Back with another video, and this is What If Anakin Skywalker Was Devilman Part 2. Now, Part 1 will be in the link in the description below, and the reason for the minimalistic editing on this one is because the last one did kind of absolutely terrible, and I just kind of want to get this one out as soon as possible. Like, what's the point of putting in the work if no one's going to watch it, you know what I'm saying? So, crossover what ifs might not be a thing if this does terrible also. But if you like Star Wars or this type of content, expect more what ifs, fanfics, lore videos, comics, video essays, reviews, and just all things Star Wars. So if you haven't seen part 1, basically Anakin gets the powers of Devilman, like it's an anime and manga series from like 50 years ago, but there's a recent adaptation called Devilman Crybaby, and kind of taken inspiration from that and just the overall series as a whole. So basically Anakin, he meets a kid named Rio, and they're best friends. Anakin goes to train with the Jedi, but they meet up, and like after a number of years, Anakin gets Devilman powers. They team up to fight demons, and just a bunch of bad shit happens. Anakin watches his mom die in a gruesome way, and Rio discovers something important about himself. Basically, that's the gist of the series, or at least part 1, but let's just get it right into part 2. Anakin and Padme got married, and the next 3 years pass, and Anakin is thrust towards the front line during the Clone Wars. He learns more about his powers and grows as a Devilman and a Jedi. He hasn't told anyone about his powers, afraid of what they might think. He's become the leader of the 501st and has gotten close to Captain Rex. He even took on an apprentice named Ahsoka, and she was like his little sister. He and Obi-Wan were shaky sometimes, but when it mattered, they always had each other's backs, like brothers. But over the years, Rio would become more distant. They still strive towards the same goal, but he felt like something was off with his best friend. Palpatine had tried to get closer to Anakin, but it seemed like Skywalker's mind was always elsewhere. He would turn him to the dark side and make him his apprentice no matter what, though. Palpatine was hiding another secret, though. That would come much later, however. Over the span of the Clone Wars, Padme had almost died numerous times, but Anakin saved her each and every time. Once taking a bath, she fell unconscious and a water demon tried to drown her, but Anakin quickly took care of it, saving his wife. But more demons seemed to keep appearing. No matter how many he killed, more always appeared. A bird demon named Celine tried to sleep with them, and regretfully, during their fight in the sky, Anakin and her, did the deed. But after she merged with another demon, Anakin nearly lost, but they died before they could finish off Skywalker. This got Anakin thinking, as Celine merged with the demon that seemed to love or have affection for her. He didn't think that was possible, but that wouldn't deter him from his mission, and in the last year of the war, Anakin discovered something that shocked him, and that was another Devilman. One of the people he had saved on a mission transformed in front of him, and he couldn't believe it. This led him to figuring out that all across the galaxy, many who merged with demons won and became Devilmen, just like Anakin. He was happy there were others like him, and he told Rio about it, and he wanted to bring all the Devilmen of the galaxy together and wipe out the threat of the demons once and for all. But Rio told him that was a bad idea, and to just keep dealing with things the way they have been for the past 5 years. The Chosen One didn't know how he felt about this, but just continued on with how things went. The end of the war was nearing, and the events of Revenge of the Sith came to play out. Padme became pregnant, and this was all Anakin could think about. His wife and unborn child, protecting them no matter the cost. Palpatine was kidnapped, and Anakin and Obi-Wan went to rescue him. Obi-Wan was knocked down, and Anakin dueled Dooku. He felt like this was a waste of time. What was he doing? He could just end this by transforming. Using a lightsaber was inefficient. Over the years, he preferred to transform. He only really used a lightsaber to keep up the ruse. But he began to care less and less. He became more arrogant over the years, and he wanted to test his strength on Dooku. He never really used his strength or power on something other than a demon. But Dooku, he was a Sith, so why not? Anakin dropped his saber to his waist, and Dooku was surprised, as was Palpatine. But Dooku kept up his attacks. However, Anakin dodged every single one. He picked up Dooku by the arm, breaking it, and then grabbed him by the throat, squeezing. Palpatine and Dooku were shocked at this, but this made Palpatine smile. He told Anakin, "Kill him. Kill him now," and to do it. Anakin felt something off with Palpatine. Something about this entire thing seemed off. There was something larger at play. But Anakin obliged and snapped Dooku's neck, killing him. He freed Palpatine and saved Obi-Wan, and the three escaped back to Coruscant. The events of Revenge of the Sith continue, with the Jedi Council being off-world, and Anakin having nightmares about Padme dying in childbirth. Something was seriously wrong. Anakin could feel it, and whenever he talked to Palpatine, he sensed it. It had something to do with him. Anakin tried to talk to Rio, but he had grown even more distant than normal. Ahsoka had left the Order, which angered Anakin, but she and Rex were dealing with Maul. Palpatine told Anakin the tragedy of Darth Plagueis' demise, but Anakin spoke back. "Chancellor, have you ever heard of a story of an ancient race that thrives off living beings? They're an abomination of the Force, something that must be quelled and destroyed." Anakin sensed a shiver run down Palpatine's spine, but he couldn't figure out why. It's when Palpatine revealed that he could help Anakin save Padme if he joined the dark side, and he told Anakin he was the Sith Lord. This is where everything changed. Anakin had always known something was off about Palpatine ever since he became a Devilman, and this was his answer. He couldn't believe he hadn't seen it earlier. He drew his lightsaber, but he realized he didn't need it. Palpatine spoke. "Ah, I know what you are. Join us. Join my master and us, and we can end life and everything in the galaxy." Anakin was confused. His master? And that's when Palpatine revealed himself to be a demon who had taken over that body long ago, and Anakin transformed. He had revealed the tale of Darth Plagueis the Wise in his office instead of during the opera, and the two fought in the Chancellor's office before taking to the skies of Coruscant. Anakin managed to grab hold of the demon's wings and rip them off and throw him back to the Chancellor's office. Anakin flew down and the demon was in Palpatine's form, and Anakin gutted him with his fist. But all of a sudden a security alert sounded, blaring all across Coruscant. An emergency broadcast was sent all across the galaxy simultaneously. Anakin looked at Palpatine's communicator and saw Rio. He was even more confused. What was going on? Rio spoke. "Ladies and gentlemen and other beings of the galaxy, Republic, Separatists, and everything else in between. My name is Rio, and I'm a professor stationed on Coruscant. For over a decade I have studied an ancient and deadly species, one no one knows exists. Demons. I assure you, they are real, and they are here. They merge with living beings and take the forms of anyone or anything. The person next to you could very well be a demon. I bring you this message as a warning. The galaxy will change. Many will die, but if we stand together and fight against this demonic scourge, then life will prevail." Anakin was shocked, but maybe this was what Rio was working on for the past few years and couldn't tell Anakin. But that thought quickly faded as the broadcast continued. "Of course I have proof. My good friend and the hero of the Republic, Anakin Skywalker, is one of these demons." Anakin was even more shocked. He didn't know what to say. It continued. "Here's video evidence of Anakin as a Jedi attending a dark and twisted party on the lower levels of Coruscant. He takes his saber, murdering everyone in his path, and in the end transforms into a demon. And even now, he plans to take over the Republic. Your hero has just murdered Chancellor Palpatine." It showed video of Anakin in his Devilman form gutting Palpatine. Anakin was shocked. This was all fabricated. Why would Rio do this, he thought. He needed to confront his best friend. But before he could leave, Mace Windu and the remaining council members entered into the office. The broadcast finished with Rio saying, "Together, we can stop this demon threat. Band together with your friends and family, and hunt and end the demons and those who might be hiding them." It ended, and Mace Windu walked up to Anakin, who was still transformed, and said, "Skywalker, or whatever you are under arrest for treason against the Republic and murder of the Chancellor." Anakin looked away and looked up. Rio, what the fuck was he doing, he wondered. Was this a part of the plan? The Chosen One didn't know, but he needed to make a choice. He still didn't know if Padme was going to die in childbirth, so he needed to be with her, not locked up or dead. But they were standing in his way. It was Padme or them, and he chose Padme. With their sabers ignited, the council members prepared themselves. Anakin rushed forward, punching through Aegon Kolar's chest, ripping out his heart. He made his way to Saesee Tiin and slashed his waist, ripping him in half. Kit Fisto and Mace Windu were shocked, but steadied themselves. Anakin, with a burst of speed, flew around the room and rocketed slashes and punches. But the Jedi managed to block a few, just Fisto was too slow, and Anakin slashed through his throat. Windu was the only one left. He sensed darkness in Anakin, or whatever this thing was, and to use a pot against him. It worked for a while, but Windu ran out of stamina. He got in a good few clean strikes, but Anakin was stronger, physically in every way, and Anakin used the Force, picking Windu up by the throat, and used it to drag him towards his fist, puncturing his body from behind to forward. Anakin pulled out his arm, and the Master dropped dead. He looked at their corpses, and the blood on his body. He looked up, and a tear began falling down his face. However, his thoughts switched to Padme. He didn't have time for this. Anakin leapt out the window towards her apartment. Coruscant was in chaos. Fires and battles being fought across the planet, and Anakin felt into the Force. This was happening everywhere. He made his way to the apartment and crashed inside. Padme jumped back in fear, scared of whatever this thing was, but she remembered the broadcast. Annie, is that really you? She walked up and touched his face. He nodded and reverted back to normal. They embraced one another and Anakin explained everything. She looked at him but hugged him once more. He was going to save her no matter what. Anakin called Rex and Ahsoka and he asked if they still trusted him, and they both agreed. And he asked them to come to Coruscant to protect Padme while he figured all this out. They agreed and Anakin and Padme waited for them to arrive. The two entered and were apprehensive hearing the broadcast, but they believed in Anakin and would protect Padme. Anakin kissed Padme, kinda surprising Rex and Ahsoka, but not really. Skywalker then transformed, shocking everyone, and he left to go and find Rio. Anakin flew throughout the skies, and everything had gotten worse. But while Anakin made his way to Rio's apartment, he stopped when he saw a broadcast of Padme, Rex, and Ahsoka. The two nodded at her, and she began to speak. Citizens of the Republic, CIS Alliance, and everyone of the galaxy. My name is Padme Amidala, Senator of Naboo, and wife of Anakin Skywalker. Anakin was shocked. What was she thinking, revealing this to the entire galaxy? But Padme continued. The previous broadcast by Professor Rio showed Anakin, the hero of the Republic, as some kind of vicious monster. But I assure you, that's not the case. He is a caring and loving husband, and soon-to-be father of my unborn child. So please, do not listen to false rumors. Please, for the sake of the galaxy, do not cast ill will against him. He is a good man. He's no demon. He's Anakin Skywalker, chosen one of the Jedi Order, and hero of the Republic. With that, the broadcast ended. Anakin didn't know what to think, but he was glad Padme was trying to protect his image. He smiled. They'd deal with this later. He flew to Rio's apartment and made his way inside. Rio was sitting on a couch reading something. Anakin angrily asked, Rio, what have you done? The galaxy's in chaos. Why'd you make me out to be a monster when the demons are the real issue? Rio laughed. It's simple, really, Anakin. What I discovered on Tatooine showed me the truth. The demons are going to win. Everything else is gonna die. So join us. Join me, Anakin. Anakin didn't understand. Rio was a person, so why was he doing this? It's simple, really. It's because I'm not a person. I'm Satan. Rio unleashed 6 wings in a body that was both male and female. Anakin was shocked, but had heard of that name before. An ancient deity or angel or force being that had fallen from grace. I challenged the Supreme Maker and was cast out until I stumbled upon this galaxy and the demons dwelling here. I took them as my underlings, and over the eons built up our force to challenge the Supreme Maker, but I lost and my memories forgotten. That somehow I landed on Tatooine and met you. Anakin didn't know what to say, but he chose to refuse Rio's offer. You might want to reconsider. You may not have noticed, but I changed your surroundings so that time passes more slowly in here. It's been a day out there. Anakin was confused, but his first thought was Padme. Rio could sense this and smiled. Without saying a word, Anakin rushed out the window and towards the apartment. He flew as fast as he could until he made it back, but he saw the apartment in flames. People were dancing around the fire, holding up sticks with body parts attached to them. He looked closer, and in horror, he dropped to the ground and to his knees. He saw Rex and Ahsoka's body parts being tossed around and out on spikes. Ahsoka's and Rex's heads mounted on spikes. A tear fell down his face. Then he looked towards the middle and began crying, begging for it to not be true. He saw Padme's head mounted on a spike. He saw her other parts strewn about, her stomach gutted open. Their unborn child, or children rather, roasting over a fire. Then he saw those responsible dancing around the fire, holding up what was left of his friends, wife, and children. The Jedi Order, Obi-Wan and Yoda, and so many more. They had come back to Coruscant. His brother and all the people he thought were friends in the Order murdered those he cared about most. He wasn't the monster. They were the real monsters. His rage got the best of him, and he unleashed hellfire in every direction, burning and killing every Jedi, including Obi-Wan and Yoda. He dropped to his knees. He lost everything now. He went over and picked up his wife and unborn children, and he flew to Tatooine. He could fly in the freezing vacuum of space and travel faster than hyperspace. He landed on Tatooine and buried them where he buried what was left of his mother. He sat at their graves. His mother, wife, and children, all gone. His friends in the Jedi Order he cared about, gone. Rio must have done something to them. They would never do that. But it didn't matter. Everyone was dead. As he sat at their graves, other Devilmen from around the galaxy joined by his side. They told him that they heard the broadcast but knew Anakin wasn't the bad guy, and they wanted to help him stop Rio. They saw through the ruse, and they weren't going to let Satan and the demons win. Anakin looked at his family's grave one last time, and then turned around, transforming into Amon. He was going to fight against the demons and Rio. He was going to kill his best friend. They flew off into space, and the war between Anakin and the Devilmen versus Rio and the demons began. 20 long years passed, and the war had been brutal. Quadrillions of sentient beings dead, and only a few small patches of life was left. Rio was winning, and the final battle would be ensued. Anakin had become battle-hardened and fought for years without rest. He wanted to kill Rio with his bare hands, but as the final battle commenced, each side took staggering losses. During the war, the demons had taken the forms of the most important individuals in the Republic, Senate, and galaxy, and turned their tide, and it turned in their favor, and they managed to wipe out almost all life in the galaxy. But the final battle will determine everything. The other outposts had been destroyed, and the final outpost of free life was on Camino. The scientists who were left were doing everything they could to breed more of, well, really any species that survived. It would be beneficial if they did. But the demons invaded and destroyed it. But they fought back and managed to kill most of, if not all, the demons, until only Anakin and Rio remained. In the cold vacuum of space, he stared at his old friend. "It's over, Rio. I'm going to kill you." Rio laughed. "Anakin, it's never over. Try if you will." Anakin launched forward with everything he had. His full power had been unleashed onto Rio. They collided in an epic fight of punches and strikes throughout the galaxy. They destroyed planets, stars, anything that stood in their way. Anakin had lost limbs, but were replaced by the last remaining Devilmen until eventually Anakin and Rio were the last surviving beings in the galaxy. Anakin raced towards Rio with all his might, determined to kill his best friend, to stop him once and for all. But Rio smiled and unleashed a massive beam of energy, while Anakin was flying towards him. And Anakin tried to tank the shot, but a massive explosion occurred, rocketing both towards Tatooine. Rio laid next to Anakin on the desert planet, speaking. "Well, this brings back old memories. It's always been you and me, Anakin. And it always will be." Rio smiled, and he looked over, but Anakin didn't respond. Rio was confused at first, until he looked over at Anakin, who wasn't saying anything. He tried to move him, but Skywalker laid still. That's when he looked over and saw only the top half of Anakin next to him. The blast had bisected the Chosen One, killing him instantly. The top half of his body laid still on the ground as Rio tried to get him to speak, but to no avail. Rio laughed a bit and shed a tear, but as he lay down and looked up, he saw a bright flash falling from the sky. The flash enveloped Rio, and laughing, knowing the Supreme Maker was behind this. Maybe this was his punishment to be the last living being in the galaxy, having killed his best friend. The flash spurred outward and consumed the entire galaxy. But as Rio opened his eyes, he was confused as to where he was, but continued walking until he fell and a certain someone helped him up. Rio looked up, not remembering anything, and the boy introduced himself as Anakin Skywalker. Everything had been reset, and the cycle of Satan's punishment to lose everything, and watch the only person he cares about die over and over, all for rebelling against the Supreme Maker, was beginning anew, and would continue forever. Alright, so if you guys enjoyed the video, if you did, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know down below if you want to see more videos like this. I don't know about crossover type what ifs, the last one, part 1, like, barely got any views, so I don't know, that's kind of why it's just the gameplay in the background, because, you know, like I said at the beginning, what's the point if no one's going to watch it? And I just kind of wanted to get out of the way also. If it does better in the future for whatever reason, then I might just make it like a full part or like a full story, just combine the two and like completely edit it together with visuals and everything, but who knows. But overall, as a story, I like this one. It combines Star Wars and Devilman, which is like really hard to do. Like, I had to think of like what actually made sense, and I mean, some of it kind of did, some of it kind of didn't, but I mean, hey, it's a fanfic story, so I mean, who cares, right? In the end, it's all for fun. And also, this got like dark as fuck, especially with the Padme stuff. That was as I was writing, I was like, damn. But I mean, kind of happened in the Devilman Crybaby anime, and kind of wanted to combine them, so yeah, kind of had to put that in there. But also the ending of it just being a giant time loop for Rio was kind of crazy, but I fuck with it as an ending. It makes you take a closer look at the story. But with all that out of the way, I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.